Welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much for clicking on my video. My podcast today is going to be about the devil, or what we say in Arabic, Iblis. So I'm going to do the best to, with my knowledge, I'm going to do the best of my ability to break it down in a way that won't be too confusing or overbearing. So I'm going to get straight into it. But first, before I start, I just want to say I hope you guys all had a great day. I always have to let you guys know that, I do this for you guys. And every day, I just really hope that, we get the opportunity to shine. And I mean that. I always want to highlight that every day because it's what matters the most. So, moving on. In Islam, the holy book of the Quran, there is a controversial figure. However, many people of faith view this figure in different ways. This figure is known as Iblis. Many believe that he's an angel or a fallen angel, but in Islam we don't believe he's a fallen angel. We refer to him as a Jinn, because angels were created with light, and Jinn, or the devils, were created with fire. So Jinn are supernatural creatures according to Islamic beliefs that were created alongside with angels and men. We believe that the earth, before there was man, there was a lot of fighting between angels and supernatural, entities and whatnot. So who knows? But in Islam, we do believe that this earth, before humankind, there was clashing already. There was already spilling of blood of a supernatural form, if that makes sense. So it's I don't know, that's what I was told. There was, angels and demons fighting on earth, and there was just a lot of bad things going on earth before we were even here. So it's pretty interesting to know that. So the Jinn, in the case of Iblis, is often associated with being evil and is more commonly referred to as shaitan. We believe that Iblis has children, and their role is to misguide us. So Iblis is mentioned in the Quran 11 times, and for the most part, there is one single event that sums up his story, though it is told from many different perspectives. The tale is quite simple, but much can be derived from this story. So Iblis takes appearance in chapter 2 of the second surah, the chapter that pretty much details the creation of mankind. So we are told that the angels were not so sure about the creation of mankind, and even questioned God whether he was sure to place us as the authority on earth. So it's pretty crazy. Imagine angels questioning God, asking God why you're going to create mankind if they're going to be on earth shedding blood and creating wars and doing everything that we see today, pretty much. So pretty much the angels described humans on earth as capable of shedding blood and causing corruption and so on and so forth. So he was asking God, why create humans? Angels were perfect. Why couldn't angels, be enough for God? So when the angels basically deem themselves more worthy, right? God responds to them saying that he knows that which they do not know. And this shows that God's word is final and that there is no going around it. So basically, for God is to be and it shall become. So God asked the angels to tell him the names of all the things that he created, pretty much. And the angels basically responded, said that we don't know the names of everything you created. So it's interesting for that, or at that point it's interesting, is because when God created Adam, we believe that God taught us all the names, or he taught the first man all the names of everything. So something that the angels did not have any capability of, or they just couldn't fathom, all these names of everything. Just angels were just taught to worship and to praise God and to do whatever God says. So let's see, moving on. So with Adam, standing victorious in this contest between man and angels, because God created us, created mankind, and he elevated us to a state that seemed more than the angels, right? So that's when we all heard, or we know that story that when God told the angels to bow down, they all bowed down except Iblis, except Satan. Pretty much when Iblis didn't bow down, that's pretty much when, I guess, the fire started. After all the angels bowed down to Adam, and of course when Iblis didn't bow down, Adam and Eve were told, they were told to go enjoy the fruits of heaven, and that's where they enjoyed the Garden of Eden, and that's what we all heard the story of. Well, we were told to not eat from that one tree, to enjoy everything else, and that's when Iblis came into temptation. And we all know that story, that we bit from the apple. And there's this misunderstanding that, that they always blame Eve, that she was the one that grabbed the apple and she was the one that tempted Adam with the apple. But in Islam, there's like no pointing of the finger. Like, I think most of the blame goes to Adam. Like, he was the one that was told, not to eat from here. So I'm not saying all the responsibility fell on him, but it fell on both of, Adam and Eve. So, after we took a bite off the apple, that's when we became aware that we were naked, and we all know, well, most of us know the majority of the story. But before I continue on to the story, I want to show just a clip of the poem that I did a couple months ago, I think about 2 months ago, about Adam and Eve, and just the beginning when we're in heaven. Well, I tried to reanimate the whole story, so I'm gonna play it right now just to give it a little bit more context. So hope you guys like it.
Not a fan.
In the garden, a taste of heaven, the place where it all started. A river stream so pristine, a reflection that the world has yet to see. Among the vibrant trees that overfill with exotic birds, along with the soothing song that is sung. To those whomever it's among. Closer and closer. With the use of repetitive tongue. Words that have begun as seeds. But here they sprout for all of you to see. Like Adam and Eve. In a world abundantly green. The first love story the world has ever seen. But temptation came to play. But love always finds a way. Like the prayers that give company to those in the grave so quiet. For in the hearts, where whispered secrets and lies, either bring joy or tears in the eyes. Harder and harder to thrive. When the devil keeps morphing into an unrecognizable disguise. Like the apple brought right in front of your very own eyes. half bidden, but forgiven, yet banished from our home, into this world where we continue to roam. Yet hand in hand, they go. A bond not easy to break, even when the ground crumbles, and when the mountains begin to shake. Through our trials, and through our tests, from Eden's fluorescent gates, to distant lands where the angels give peace in a way so great. Two souls intertwined by fate, and face to face with the fall. But in unity they brought together a beautiful call, 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 a beautiful call.
All right, welcome back. So yeah, I just love when I have poems that have relevance to the podcast that I'm talking about. So I'm like, might as well just throw it in there, you know?
We already know that.
So moving on. So basically after we bit the apple, that's when, you know, God pretty much talked to us and told us, you know, why we did what we did, and, you know, it gets very deep. So my next bullet point was in chapter 2, verse 36. God basically was telling, you know, us how our parents, you know, Adam and Eve, how they fell into temptation. So it says that, but Satan caused them to slip out of it and remove them from that condition in which they had been. So I added the bullet point that Iblis can only whisper in our ears. So we are the ones that give him power. So because Adam, you know, and Eve disobeyed God's commandment, you know, with us eating the apple, we were told, so Adam and Eve and Iblis were pretty much told to go down to earth as enemies to one another, you know? So like Iblis was gonna be like our enemy for life, you know? So God was just telling us that, you know, we're gonna go down to this place and a lot's gonna happen, you know? So, and like God pretty much told us, or told them, that the earth will be a place of settlement and provision only for a certain amount of time. So God like made that clear that it's only going to be a certain amount of time that we're going to be on earth. So moving on to my next bullet point. In the 7th surah of the Quran, this story is further delved into as we see God's response to Iblis' refusal to bow before Adam. So in chapter 7, verse 12 through 14, God says, "What prevented you from prostrating when I commanded you?" And Satan responds, "I am better than him. You created me from fire and you created him from clay." So we believe as humans, we believe as Muslims that Iblis was the very first racist.
So he's a racist. That's his problem, not mine.
So basically God responds to him, "Descend from paradise, for it is not for you to be arrogant therein. So get out, indeed you are of the debased." But Iblis takes advantage of God's mercy. So he asks God to keep him alive until the dead are resurrected. So basically until the final resurrection. Also, he can misguide mankind and turn them away from the path by making them ungrateful and unkind to one another, etc. So Satan tells God, "Because you have put me in error, I will surely sit and wait for them on your straight path. Then I will come to them from before them and from behind them and on their right, from their left, and you will find most of them ungrateful to you." So he was telling God that he will dedicate the remainder of his existence from that day as a tempter to the human race. So he will be present with every single human being, seeking to corrupt them and taking them away from God's path. exposing us as unworthy and beneath him, as he originally declared to God, which displayed like this pride and just showed that he has this big point to prove, when in reality, you know, all this could have been prevented if he just would have bowed down. But this could have been a big test, you know, like we don't know, like God knows all things. So pretty much God tells Satan in chapter 7 verse 18 to get out of paradise, reapproached and expelled, and whoever follows you among them, I will surely fill hell with you altogether. So pretty intense. So pretty much God said, yeah, like go and misguide whoever you want to misguide, and you know, whoever you misguide and make ungrateful, then you know, all you guys can go to hell. That's why religion and like God, it can be very sensitive, because these words can really strike some people. So like people think Islam is like this very like extreme religion, and that you're just gonna go to hell just because you're like not righteous. But I just feel like God is specifically talking, you know, to a certain group. So I just want to make that clear. So this pretty much shows that God acknowledges Satan's promise, and like God will pretty much win no matter what, but God still gave him what he wanted, you know? So God said, okay, go ahead and we'll see who's faithful to me, and we'll see who follows you, you know? So in chapter 15, we see the same events told again. So in chapter 15, verse 30, all the angels prostrated, all of them entirely except Iblis. He refused to be with those who prostrated. So again, just God pretty much repeats, you know, that Iblis was just not obeying. So God asks Satan again why he did not just follow what he was commanded. And Iblis responds, he says, never would I prostrate to a human whom you created out of clay from an altered black mud. And God responds in chapter 15, verse 34, then get out of it, for indeed you are expelled. Then Satan tells God again that he will misguide humankind and show them how ungrateful humankind will be, and he will make sin attractive on earth. So interestingly, chapter 15, verse 39 through 40, Iblis reassures that he will not be able to misguide all of humankind. He acknowledges those who will remain faithful to God, and he will and those will remain loyal no matter what. He says, I will mislead all of them, except among them your chosen servants. So I thought it was pretty interesting that even Satan knew that there's going to be a certain group of God's chosen servants that he won't be able to misguide, you know? So I just thought that was like very interesting to add in there. And God confirms this in chapter 15, verse 42. He says, indeed, my servants, no authority will you have over them, except those who follow you of the deviators. And indeed, hell is the promised place for them. And Iblis goes a step further by declaring in chapter 17, verse 62, in chapter Al-Isra, I will surely destroy his descendants, pretty much the descendants of Adam, except for a few. So Satan truly believed that he will have all of mankind on his side and not on God's side. And pretty much God doesn't seem concerned, you know, because God pretty much tells Iblis, like, go for it, like, go for whoever of them follows you. Indeed, hell will be the recompense of you, and incite whoever to senselessness, whoever you can among them with your voice, and assault them with your horses and foot soldiers, and become a partner in their wealth and their children, and promise them. So God pretty much tells us all Satan can do is just promise these things. He only can whisper. He can only tell us things that may happen in the future, which may not even happen. So again, like, Satan uses fear to control us and to misguide us again. So, and my last bullet point was that so much more happens like in this process, but like what I explained was just like a very like paraphrase, short, you know, descriptive way like I can break it down. So I just hope this had, you know, I don't know, I just feel like we're not taught a lot about what was before us, And I always tell people that when you see things before you, it just makes things more understandable. Like, that's just my opinion. So yeah, so thank you guys all for clicking on this video. I'm gonna cut it here, but I hope this gave you guys a better understanding of where we come from as Muslims, and what we believe. Because I just feel like at the end of the day, I don't like to keep acknowledging Satan, and but I just feel like we have to know that there is a darkness out there, trying to destroy the beauty of humankind. So yeah, I just feel like we just have to be more aware of, I don't know, just in information, just in general. I just feel like we try to ignore the spiritual life out there. There's so much things going on that we do not see, and we just act like it's not there. But I feel like once you start acknowledging, I don't know, the spiritual aspect of everything, things just start making more sense. So like I said, that's just my opinion. But thank you guys again. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video/podcast, and I hope to see you guys next time. And thank you guys again. Have a good one.